Hey, everybody, it's Cindy here, and today I want to talk to you about boundaries. I had a conversation with a friend of mine this morning, and it reminded me how important healthy boundaries are in our lives. We all need them. But what is a boundary? Well, a boundary, in general, it may seem like a wall or some kind of, a fence is like a boundary around a property, or sometimes there's walls put up to be boundaries so people can't get in or through an area, or gates or something like that. And we might associate those kinds of things with being, leaving people out or isolating people, or as a negative thing. But there is such a thing as healthy boundaries in our lives that are really, really important. Really important. I mean, it's kind of like when you lock your door so nobody can just come in unannounced into your home. That's a healthy boundary, right? Because we don't want people to feel like they can just come in, whoever they are, whenever they want, and do whatever they want and take your stuff, or show up when you're, sleeping or naked, or, things like that. So boundaries are very, very healthy, and there are many, many kinds. But basically, a simple definition is any parameters, limits, that you put in your life to optimize your own health in several areas. So I'm going to go through some types of boundaries and give you a few examples just to get your thoughts rolling. But know that this is an inexhaustible list. There's all kinds of things that you could put in your life as boundaries, and when you stick to them, when you support your own boundaries, then you are saying yes to you. You are understanding your own limits and what you feel is healthy and important and you value in your life. And that teaches other people what's important to you, so they can either respect you or not. And then you can make decisions about relationships and how you want to live, and the ways you want to operate in the world. Excuse me. Okay, so one kind is physical boundaries. Now, this might mean that we could look at that from a position of like health and say, one of your boundaries may be, I have got to be in bed by 10 o'clock at night because I have to get up at 6, and I need 8 hours of sleep per night, at least 5 nights a week, to feel healthy and functional. So a kind of physical health boundary is you know how much sleep you need, and you make sure that you set up your life in a way that you get it. Another may be what food or any substances that you're going to put in your body. For example, I do not smoke. I don't smoke because I believe it is unhealthy for me, so I won't do it. So I say no to that personally. Another physical boundary may be, like I said, food, how many calories you're going to eat, what kinds of food you're going to eat. Maybe you have allergies and you have to put boundaries, very specific boundaries around what food you consume. Anything you decide to intake, whether it's, maybe some people are against vaccinations. Some people, won't do drugs, prescription drugs or illegal drugs. Others will. Some believe weed is okay. Some believe weed is not okay. We all have different boundaries. And the laws of our land also give us boundaries. And sometimes we agree with those and sometimes we don't. But anyway, how much alcohol you will consume before you drive, or how much you'll consume at all, based on what, some people refuse, will not let themselves get intoxicated no matter what's going on. Some don't mind doing that sometimes. It's just whatever works for you in your life. So those are examples of physical boundaries. Some people will get their mammograms every year, get their physicals every year, get their prostate checked every year, get the colonoscopy after they're 50, all of those are also boundaries, like things you're willing to do and things you're not willing to do, and that kind of things. Okay, let's move on to the sexual aspect, or our bodies, like our boundaries around our bodies. Like, I don't like to be tickled, and so I'll usually stop someone who's attempting to tickle me. Some people are very physical and like to wrestle in fun, or, hit in playful fun, or whatever, and some won't. So you can decide, who's going to touch me how, What kind of physical play will I involve myself in? And what kind of sexual play will I involve myself in? Who can hug me? Who can kiss me? Who can touch me all over and who cannot? And what boundaries do you want around all of that? And be really, really clear. You want to be really clear with yourself about what your boundaries are. And then if someone is entering, and trying to do things you don't want them to do, you say no. You put up the boundary and say, oh, I'm not comfortable with that. Sorry. And don't let them do it. Don't let them tickle you if you don't want to be tickled. Don't let them kiss you if you don't want to be kissed. That kind of thing. It's okay. So how about behavioral boundaries? Now this can be a bazillion things too. But for example, no one is allowed to smoke in my house, in any property I own, because I don't want to allow secondhand smoke to those who don't smoke. I'm not comfortable with it personally. No offense to those of you who smoke. I have a lot of people I love who smoke, but it's not allowed in my home. That's a behavioral boundary that I put up in my home because of my own comfort level and what I believe about health and that kind of thing, and the kind of environment I want to have in my home at all times. And smoking is counterintuitive to that, so I don't allow it. We've already talked about like number of drinks. Okay, children, boundaries with the behavior of children. What will you tolerate in your children's behavior and what won't you tolerate? What boundaries do you need to put around their behavior as you're raising them? Or if there's children in your home or under your care, think about what boundaries, what you will allow and what you won't allow. Will you allow tantrums? Will you allow throwing toys in the house? Will you allow screaming? Will you not? Have healthy boundaries. What feels reasonable to you based on the ages of your children and the kind of environment you want, and be clear. Another behavioral boundary that's huge in our society now is social media. Like, what are you willing to share and what are you willing not to share, or what are you even willing to read? Like, I participate in Facebook and I will only post certain kinds of things personally. I will only do that, and I will only accept on my timeline people posting certain kinds of things. If I don't want it on there, I delete it off of there. And I don't say anything on Facebook that I don't want to say to the whole world, and I won't read some things that my friends post when they're really raging about something. That's fine for them, but I don't want to get into a lot of deep political conversations on Facebook and things like that, so I don't participate too much in that. So that's a boundary I'm putting around my own behavior with social media. Another is phones. When do you answer your phone? When is your phone on? When is your phone off? How late will you answer texts? How early? Who gets your phone number? Have boundaries around this. You don't have to be available to everyone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week if you don't want to be. That's your choice. If someone rings your doorbell, you can go to the door if you're home or not. That's your choice. That's a boundary. Do you want to answer the door right now? Are you expecting someone, or is this someone you're not expecting? And if you're not expecting them, do you really want to open the door? So these are all kinds of behavioral boundaries, and are your decisions. Then there's language or conversation boundaries, right? Some examples might be profanity. Some people, that's off limits. It might be certain tones you will listen to or not. Some people tolerate name calling, gossip, all kinds of things. Raunchy jokes or jokes that are disrespectful to groups of people, things like that. If you're uncomfortable with these things, then don't participate in them, and you don't have to listen to them either. Excuse yourself if there's that going on around you, or ask the people that are participating in those things if they would consider changing the subject. I was at a dinner once years ago with a group of friends and some family, and several of us were talking about the kind of a deep subject, I guess you might say, and one of the women got up and left. the table and went up to her room, and we didn't see her again the rest of the night. And so she put up a boundary. She said, "Hey, I'm not gonna participate in this conversation. We're having a pretty deep conversation, and I think it was too private for her. And she's a private person, and it was too personal, and she needed to give herself space. So she put up a boundary, and that was fine. That was just fine. I don't do a lot of gossiping. Well, I don't gossip, and I won't participate in it. So if I have people around me who are gossiping, I get silent or I leave. I just won't participate in it. Very, very rarely will I entertain that at all. It's one of my own boundaries, and I feel better because of it. I don't like to do that. Okay, then emotional boundaries is another type. This one's huge. This one's huge, huge, huge in relationships. So you want to have boundaries around who you're going to trust, who you're going to confide in, who you're going to listen to, who you might cry or share strong emotions with, who you might share yourself with on a deep level, and who you will, oh, I'm really sorry. Excuse me. I can't seem to go 15 minutes without yawning today. We had strong thunderstorms last night. I was awake a lot of the night, so please forgive me. So, you want to be choosy about who you trust with your deepest thoughts and that kind of thing, or who you're willing to be very, very vulnerable with. Put boundaries around that. Really let the people earn your trust, and you earn theirs, and just put some boundaries around that. Also, if someone is needing to kind of, I call it emotional vomiting or raging venting, if they need to in your direction and you're really not able to receive that right now, it's not a good time for you, or you're not comfortable with it because of something to do with your relationship, it's okay to put a stop to that and say, I don't feel like I'm able to be here for you right now in this way. I'm so sorry, but I just don't feel like I can be present for you in this way right now. And so I need you to think of someone else that you might talk to about this. I'm uncomfortable because I also have a relationship with this person that you're talking about, and I don't feel like I can be objective and really hear this right now, or it's not healthy for me to focus on these people for whatever reason. It's okay to put these boundaries around. Just because I say to people all the time, when someone throws you a ball, you don't have to catch it, right? So if someone throws you a ball, like, hey, I'm going to confide in you right now about this person that's one of your great friends, and I'm going to spew my guts all over you about this person, and I'm going to tell you stuff you don't want to know. You can go, ooh, I'm not going to catch that ball. I'm going to let it drop and roll away, and I'm going to say no to that conversation. It's really okay. All right, those are just examples. Financial boundaries. Okay, how much debt are you willing to be in, and for how long? How much money do you want in your savings account? How aware are you of a budget? Do you have a budget or not? How much giving do you do? What are you comfortable with? You want to have boundaries around your money and your financial life. Like how much will you spend on things you don't need? What boundaries do you want around sharing your money or your wealth with other people, whether or not they can pay you back? You want to be careful about that. And raising kids too, like how much money do we give our kids? That kind of thing. Be clear about what your boundaries are, like what your comfort level is, and stick to it unless you decide to recreate your boundaries, which if you have a new perspective on that. But definitely having boundaries around your financial life is really, really, really smart. Really smart. And fun too. It makes it more fun because when you're clear about what you want or what you're willing to do or not do, it makes life easier. This is part of why boundaries are wonderful. And then of course there's the relationships in our lives, and all relationships need boundaries of all of these kinds, for sure. For example, parent-child relationships. Many parents let their kids sleep in their bed. And there's all kinds of different research and results of research on that. So that's something to look at for you to make your own decisions about that. But if you're a parent who has a child sleeping in your bed and you don't want that child in there anymore, if it's disrupting your sexual relationship with your spouse, or if you just want more personal space, it's okay to put up that boundary no matter how long you've let that child sleep in your bed. There are ways to transition a child out of your bed, and it will be healthy for both of you. They need to learn to be able to sleep without you right beside them. They need to learn to enjoy their own space at night as well, and you deserve to have your own space, whether you're single or in a relationship, and have your private time and your personal space at night when you're sleeping and that kind of thing, or going to bed and that kind of thing. And so that's an example of a boundary in a relationship between parent and child that's very important, to adjust differently if you're not pleased with what's going on. Let's talk about a relationship with a spouse or a partner for a minute. I think it's really important for couples to have boundaries in their relationship as a couple. And what I mean by that is that, a partnership is a team mentality, and a healthy partnership, it's a collaboration, it's a team mentality. And so I think there's sacred space between two people in a partnership. I really do. And that they may have things that they only share with each other, in terms of a sexual relationship or a physical relationship, in terms of things they confide in one another, and that kind of thing, or maybe other activities that they enjoy together that they don't share with anyone else. There's just a sacred, in a healthy collaborative relationship between two people, there is this team mentality. And although you can have many family, friends, neighbors, loved ones, people you both enjoy, your people, your partner's people you share together, and all that, and open your world up to other people, at the end of the day, hopefully, there's also this little sacred space between two people, like their own little bubble that they live into, and that no one else is allowed in, emotionally, physically, sexually, intimately, at the same level as these two people. It protects the relationship, and it sets it apart from all other relationships, and that is healthy. It's very healthy, and it's not exclusive of other people or having a life outside each other, but it's a very it's a sacred space between two people, and it helps protect the relationship. It really does. So boundaries, the bottom line with boundaries is that they represent our own clarity in their life. So if you don't have a lot of boundaries and you're kind of chaotic and you don't really have limits anywhere and things, it probably means you're not real sure about what you want in your life, that you're not very clear about how you want to live and what you want your life to be like. And that means you're probably not as happy as you could be either, or as successful. So as you get clear about what you want in all of these different areas of your life, and other areas that I didn't even mention yet, then I want you to establish some boundaries, test them out a little bit, see how you like them, and keep adding healthy boundaries into other areas of your life until you've set your life up in a way that feels really, really good, where you're only allowing in what the kind of environmental things that you really, really want. You're spending your time how you really want. You have relationships that you really, really want and enjoy, and that you've kind of gotten filtered out things that are not acceptable to you, or are uncomfortable, or just do not align with you as much as other things. So please go get some boundaries. If you don't have them, go get them. And don't be shy in your life in really incorporating them. It's really okay, and it will create a happier, healthier, more peaceful existence for you, I promise. Take care and have a great day.